I'm a feminist, but my favourite drink of an alcoholic nature is a vodka soda with a little dash of cranberry, which some people I've noticed now on Twitter and Instagram are calling the Guilty Feminist. And I am not mad about that at all. I'm quite happy with that. I'm not doing anything to discourage it. In fact, I'm encouraging it. But my second favourite drink is called a skinny bitch. And I do enjoy ordering it quite a lot. It's just a vodka soda. It's without the cranberry. Now, the cranberry is So what I have is a skinny bitch with a dash of cranberry, which is good for cystitis. And I might start ordering it that way.
I'd love that. If I was working at the restaurant, I'd love to go, are you the skinny bitch?
Oh, yes.
It'd be great.
Come around,
it's like when I used to work in a restaurant, if you had two little kind of like sweet type things on a plate, it'd be lovely to go up the table and go, 2 tarts? Loved it. It's how we got through a shift. I'm a feminist, but I did spend a huge amount of time getting ready for this show, which is essentially radio.
Have you shown... You haven't shown them yet, but...
No,
Kate...
It's a reveal.
Oh, sorry.
I could show them now.
I don't want to peek too early. No, just let it be known there is a reveal and it could happen at any moment. It'll keep the show more exciting. I'm a feminist, but the other day someone asked me why my friend was looking so sassy and fabulous, and I replied very quickly without thinking, revenge body, attitude and wardrobe. Because I was so angry at the man who was so horrible to her and so thrilled that she's recovered and she's got some revenge sass. She's not lost a lot of weight or anything, she just looks different. You know, when somebody's come out of something and they've been miserable for a while and then they've just been like, fuck you, horrible man. He was horrible. I mean, it's a very mild revenge. She's not posting him dead rats. It's... which is something I've never done.
I'm a feminist, but as a trans woman, sometimes I do miss my male privilege. Like the other day, I went to buy a car. I arrived at the showroom. The salesman came out, looked me up and down and said, "You all right, love? Are you looking for something small and easy to park?"
Oh. Truly?
True.
Bloody hell.
I know. I was like, "No, you're all right, knobhead." And walked off the forecourt with my head held high. Do you know that
Was it a revenge head?
It was really revengey.
A revenge head.
It was very... And apparently, people don't trust women to sell cars. And I was talking to somebody about this, and they work for this marketing place. And rather than employ a woman, they were creating a robot. So they were going from a man to a robot.
Are we going to lose our jobs to artificial intelligence before we've even got them?
I mean, has anybody
it's
here?
Our turn next. It's not the turn of robots.
Yeah, well,
we've been waiting so much longer than robots for good jobs. We've been waiting for ages, and we've proved we can do everything better, and we've tried really hard, and we've no. And every time we get the job, they lower the pay. As soon as it becomes a female profession, they're like, "Oh, is doctoring all that?" And then they lower the pay. They do it every time. Teaching used to be a male profession. As soon as it became a female profession, they went, sort of nurturing though, isn't it really? And they halved the fucking pay. If all the Pulitzer Prize-winning books and Booker Prize-winning novels are going to suddenly be written by artificial intelligence before we get our go, I'm going to be really pissed off. And I'm going to say it to the robots.
I feel like I've hit a nerve there.
It's just because my husband's in love with Alexa.
Okay. Now we've got to the bottom of it, haven't we?
I don't care, I've got Siri. He understands me. Sorry, I forgot to do an I'm a feminist, but I'm a feminist, but I'm jealous of Alexa. I'm a feminist, but bitch is my favourite expletive. But I truly believe it doesn't count because I pronounce it biatch. You know, when sometimes you just go, what a biatch.
What a
Do you know what I mean?
biatch?
Yeah, exactly. If something goes wrong, it's sort of like, you know, you Uber cancels or something when you were just running late. It's like, oh, you biatch. That's not rude, really, is it? That's not like calling a woman a bitch. That's not misogynistic, is it? Okay, fine. Well, I don't think you're very feminist by not standing by my justification.
I'm a feminist, but if I tell someone my age and they don't go, "You're not 54," I'm horrified. And I even leave a little pause for them to say it. Sometimes I'm just left hanging like that. Oh, they're not going to say it. I look 54 today.
Firstly, you don't look anywhere near 54.
Correct answer.
Secondly, there's nothing wrong with being 54.
No, there's not.
It's one of the ages you can be.
It's a beautiful age.
But we all have to be it.
Yeah. If you're
Unless
lucky,
we die.
yeah.
Like, there's only two options, be 54 or be dead.
Yeah.
There's the options.
Yeah.
It's definitely better to be 54. Live from Manchester Podcast Festival, the Spontaneity Shop presents the Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Kate O'Donnell, and our very special guests Charlotte Keatley and Jenny George, talking about things we wish we'd known. This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. I'm Deborah Frances-White, with me is Kate O'Donnell, and we're talking about things we wish we'd known. So, Kate, now you've been on the show before as a guest, but this is your first time co-hosting.
It is.
It's very, very exciting.
And we've done a lot of practice and training, haven't we?
Kate has had no preparation.
No. No.
But you don't need it. You don't need it. You bring your wonderful self, you plan your own thing, and then the magic happens here. Last time I saw you, you were doing wonderful things with Trans Creative.
Yes.
What are you up to at the moment?
Well, I'm still doing wonderful things with Trans Creative, but I've had a really busy year. I don't know if anybody made it to our Trans Vegas Arts Festival this year. Shame on you. Really?
They might have. They may just not have known that was the time to cheer. Did anyone make it to the Trans Vegas Festival? There you go.
Come on.
I knew someone would have.
So I've had a really busy year, and I thought, I tell you what, let's just wind down for the end of the year and do a musical at the Royal Exchange.
Yay!
Yeah. I have never been in a musical before. I've been introduced to musical theatre. It's Gypsy, and I'm playing a stripper. Very proud.
Very, very exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I love Gypsy. I think it's an amazing, amazing musical.
It is.
And I am looking forward to seeing your act, because it's true you have lights.
Yes, I'm called Electra. I don't know if anybody knows Gypsy. Gypsy Rose Lee was one of the first kind of, she brought stripping into kind of celebrity status in America in the kind of 40s and 50s. And her introduction to stripping was with three very brassy broads who all have a gimmick. And my gimmick is electricity. I'm relying heavily on things lighting up on stage.
And what is your song called?
You've got to have a gimmick.
There you go. There you go. And
it's going to be good.
It's good advice for life. You've got to have a gimmick.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I don't think you can go past a gimmick. So let us begin.
Stripping and electricity. I mean, there you go.
Feels like a dangerous combination.
I like it.
No, I do see that. But I prefer to be clothed when around naked flames or electrical goods. I once had a hairdryer blow up in my hand, and it blew a hole in my hand.
Oh.
And I was in Australia, so you can plug it in the bathroom there, so I think it must have got wet.
Right.
This is why you can't do that here.
No.
And I went into shock. And I also once burnt myself while ironing topless. So I have learnt twice, because when I blew a hole in my hand, I had to get to the doctor and I was still a bit topless.
Yeah,
so,
yes.
Yeah, twice I have messed with electricity topless, and I'll never do it
again. And there is water and electricity on this desk.
Oh,
Can I
that's
just
true.
say?
That's
Yes.
true. We're tempting it. I was interested in whether anybody here in Manchester felt they had a feminist job, or it might not even be a job. It might be a project or anything that you're working on. Does anyone have anything? Yes? What's yours?
I'm a paramedic and I listen to you at work.
You're a paramedic and you listen to me at work? On the way to emergencies. What was that? It's just me doing a bit of the... I feel like it should be a between emergency podcast. I'd be really worried if it's like, I just want to listen to this last bit just before I get out of the... No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Feminism is an emergency. What a great way of looking at it. It is. It's an emergency. So you're a paramedic. Are there many female paramedics? Is it mainly male or is it gender divide?
It's more 50-50 now, but it does have a history of being male.
It has a history of being male-dominated, but you're the change that you wish to see in emergency services. Okay, as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in emergency services. Anybody else? Anyone else got a job that they think is feminist? Yes?
I teach politics and I teach feminism as part.
You teach politics and you teach feminism in politics. Where do you teach?
In college in Warrington, sixth form college.
Oh, so you teach to sixth formers. So you're teaching feminists to sixth form. Are you allowed to do that, or are you just stealthing that in? Is it more like Trojan horse style feminism, where they've actually invited you to come in and teach sort of A-level marks, and you've just gone, yeah. But what they need to know about is the history of the patriarchy, and you're sort of smuggling it in through the A-level syllabus. Is that the case? It's part of the A-level syllabus. We are such a civilized nation. We are. I mean, we are on it. We are on it. It's optional. Feminism is optional. Marx is mandatory. Sure. Who takes it out of interest? More boys than girls. Interesting. Are you teaching them anything you wish you'd known when you were their age?
Yes. The whole feminism model.
Okay. And do you reckon you could tell us about that feminism model if pressed? Not now, but if pressed. Could you give us that history? Okay. I'm asking for a reason. Sorry, what's your name? Jenny. I'm asking for a reason, Jenny. One of our guests dropped out tonight because it was an emergency right before. And I thought, I know my audience and I know how many worthy guests there are in my audience. Every single show, I wish I could have more of my audience on the stage. And tonight, that dream for me has become a reality. And my dream has become your nightmare, Jenny. Would you be interested in the second half? Because you'll have the whole first half to worry about it. Would you be interested in the second half in coming out and being a guest on The Guilty Feminist? And you absolutely can say no, we're very big on consent. No, seriously, please feel free to go, oh no, God, that would be my absolute nightmare. But we would love to have you if you would love to be had. Again, that implies... I should have asked that more consensually. There was not enough consent packaged in those words. But I wasn't planning on doing this. Jenny? Are you into it?
Yes.
Yeah, you are, Jenny. Yeah, you are. Okay, so Jenny, firstly I need to tell you, you will get a refund on your ticket and you also get a fee for appearing. I just need to say that because I don't want everyone to think, is this how she's doing it now? Because she sort of always made a thing, we always pay all of our contributors because feminism, you know, we don't just sort of, you know, go, oh, exposure, because no, that's not feminist. So when we started out, our box office did not make up what we paid the acts. We had to lose money for a while. And then as the show got bigger, now obviously we can afford to pay people more and we try and pay them commensurately. So I just didn't want anyone to think that I was just going to start pointing at people at random and forcing them to convey what they knew and educate us for free. Is there anybody else in this audience who's thinking, I have one like simple message or one charitable message or one something that I need to say and I now wish I were Jenny? Is anyone else thinking that? Yes? Who said woo?
That's me.
What's your name?
My name's Laura.
Laura. And what's your thing?
So I am not for a job, but I'm a volunteer. I'm actually a girl empowerment volunteer.
A girl empowerment volunteer. Okay. I thought you said girl in parliament. I'm pretty sure we call them women. I'm fairly sure. Okay, so what would be nice is if we get Jenny on with Charlotte, and then at the end, would you be able to come out and do a little 5-minute pitch about what you do and maybe how we could help or get involved? Great. Okay, Manchester, you have brought with you great rewards.
Hello. Now, I know you've just clapped, but can I have you cheer and roar again for the trans community? Yes! Yes! Beautiful. Beautiful. And that is how things can be for trans people in 2019. Now, what you've just heard bears no resemblance to my experience of transitioning in 2003. It was very, very different to that. Nobody was shouting, nobody was screaming. In fact, the trans community just kind of like went and hid under a rock, and it was all about keeping your head down and living in stealth. And passing. Passing meaning to not look trans, because God forbid you should be trans and look trans. And I did pass. But do you know what passing meant back then? It meant you looked like a straight cisgender woman. Now, cisgender means not trans. Now, I'm just imagining there are a lot of cisgendered straight women here tonight. Are there? Yes, it's a tough gig, isn't it? So that's what I got to pass as. And what that meant was, the question that I got asked all the time was, are you married? No. Do you have children? No. But I did used to live as a gay man and have a cock. Too much. Two dums. And that's what it was like. I felt like those were my dark years, because I'd been living as a kind of out kind of gay man and drag queen. Suddenly, I was this straight cisgendered woman having to say I wasn't married and didn't have children. I found it all a bit difficult and quite confusing. The brilliant thing about that is it didn't kind of stay like that for long, because now trans people are cool. We are cool. I don't know how it happened. Something over the last 16 years, we've become cool. I mean, I make a living out of being trans. I am full-time trans. This is what I do. People pay me to be trans. It's quite amazing. I don't know how it happened. It's like, if you think about things like 16 years ago, the other things that weren't cool, like yoga wasn't particularly cool, was it, 16 years ago? And neither was being vegan. I mean, 16 years ago, if you were vegan, you were just like an annoying, fussy eater. Now we're all after that Greg's vegan sausage roll, aren't we? It's amazing. It's amazing how that's happened. It's really cool. So if you're vegan, do a lot of yoga and trans, I mean, Jesus Christ. You're just sailing off into the stars. So I thought I'd like to kind of tell you a little bit about my journey, but I thought I'm not going to tell you about any of the cool stuff that's been happening. I thought you might be more interested to hear about all the uncool stuff that happens when you transition. You know, all the awkward and embarrassing moments. Would you like that? So when I transitioned, you were literally, back in 2003, it might as well have been the 1930s, because nobody knew what the hell was going on. Seriously. But I had a friend who transitioned, and she wrote me a list of how to transition. It had 5 things on it, right? So I think I'm just going to pop through these 5 things that she told me to do. So first of all, it says go and see your GP. Now, I don't know how you'd feel about popping along to see your GP tomorrow to tell them that you're trans, but I didn't fancy it. So I headed off to number 2, which was go and see a psychiatrist. Now, I thought this requires something quite specialist, so I threw some money at it and headed off to London to see Dr. Russell Reid. Now, Dr. Russell Reid looked remarkably like the DJ Tony Blackburn. Yeah, he was really lovely. I really loved him. Unfortunately, he had to retire in 2009 under the headline, Sex Change Doctor Guilty of Misconduct. But hey, he was all we had, and we had to start somewhere. Now, when it came to hormones, this was 2003, it was like the Dark Ages. Now, when it came to hormones, Dr. Russell Reid was from the suck it and see approach, which may have been his downfall. Cut to headline, sex change doctor guilty of misconduct. It went something along the lines of, start to take female hormones. If you develop tits and you don't like it, maybe it's not for you. That was it. But you know what? That made complete sense to me. And for the Dark Ages, it was pretty good. Number 3, speech therapy. Speech therapy to sound like a woman. Now, let's just cut to the chase. I did not need speech therapy to sound like a woman. I'd had this voice and lived as a man for years. In fact, I used to deepen it so I didn't get shit. It's a funny old thing, having a girly voice and living as a man can be quite tricky. But as a woman, it came into its own. I literally found my voice. This was my first trans win, and it wasn't going to cost me a penny. Hurrah! Do you know what? I will go to speech therapy to sound like a woman when all women go to speech therapy to sound like a woman. Because what woman would I be hoping to sound like? Would it be like Bea Arthur from the Golden Girls? Or maybe Joanna Lumley? Or perhaps it would be Anne, who works on the Trans-Pennine Express. Have you got any rubbish, love? Have you got any rubbish, love? Have you got any rubbish, love? Thanks. And anyway, who decides what a woman's voice should sound like? I bet it's a man. So, number 4, name change. Now, for anybody who is considering transitioning, you need to know that it's very admin heavy. For about a year, you're basically a part-time administrator. And something you're probably going to have to look at is getting a new name. Now, that's not always straightforward. It can be a bit tricky, but don't worry, I'm here to help. Now, I originally started off as Andrew, and then I changed my name to Drew. See what I did there? Eventually, I settled on the name Kate. The main reason being I was a huge Kate Bush fan growing up. Yeah. I felt like she was the only person more dramatic than me. Now, if any of you would like to find your trans name, and I'm going to encourage you to do that tonight, and maybe you could pick this up over Christmas. You know, when you need a little game for the table, you know. Hi, should we play Find Your Trans Name? So all you need to do is you need to take the first name of your favourite singer in the gender that you're transitioning into, and then add your mother's maiden name. Voila, that's your new trans name. We had Madonna Potter in the other day. So if any of you have got a name, you've worked it out, and would like to quickly shout it out, because I don't know how many opportunities you're going to get to shout out your trans name. Here. Anybody got any they'd like to shout out? Jarvis Broad. I love that. Brilliant. Oh, the lights are coming up.
Beyonce Davis.
Yes!
David Watkins.
Nice.
Michael Mansley.
Hello. Michael Mansley. Down here. Any more for any more?
Elvis Strofelt.
Oh, hello. That's borderline porn. Again, Deborah. George Sultan. Oh, sorry, I got it wrong. Pardon me. Hang on. What was it?
George Sultan.
Lovely. I'm not going to repeat it because I think I'll get it wrong. You can often fall into that trap and you go, George Sinton, George Sonton, George Shinton, dun, 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 dun. It could just go on for ages. So yeah, feel free to take that wherever you want to go. I mean, if I've helped some of you transition, began your transition, well then that's great. But if not, it can just be a party game at Christmas. Okay, then we come to number 5. Now, just before I go on to number 5, I think I'm just going to let you know if any of you are thinking of transitioning, because we don't know how the world's going to go. We've had yoga, we've had vegans. I mean, what next? If any of you are thinking, you need to know that there is a huge amount of interest in your genitals when you're trans. People think that within minutes of finding out you're trans, they can ask you about them. They say things like, have you had everything done? No, just the kitchen and the bathroom, thanks for asking. So number 5 on the list, decide on the op. The op. Because in 2003, it was all about the op, and you were having the op, whether you wanted it or not. And I decided to go to Thailand to have my surgery, and when I told people that, they would look at me in horror. I think, what do you know about gender reassignment surgery? Shut up. And I went to see Dr. Saporn in Thailand. Now, he is considered a world leader in surgical procedure for trans people. He's also quite small, very tidy looking, and polite, which came in handy, because within minutes of meeting him, you've got your genitals out and the game is on. Now, I decided to have a nose job, a boob job, and gender reassignment surgery at the same time. Yeah, that's a nose job, a boob job, and gender reassignment surgery at the same time. I asked Dr. Saporn if he thought that was a bit much. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Not for me." I mean, that's very reassuring. Some of the other patients were a little bit more impressed at my decision to have so many surgeries in one sitting. One patient, watching me stagger back from the clinic, fully bandaged, did comment, "Oh, I see you went for the full Monty, my dear." And indeed I had. In for a penny, in for a pound. Talking of money, when you do have surgeries like that, they're very expensive, and I wasn't rich, but I owned a flat, so I decided to remortgage it. I was a little bit worried how gender reassignment surgery would look on the application, so I cheated it and said it was for home improvements. I thought, if anyone asks, it is plumbing related. Thank you. You've got to be resourceful. You've got to be resourceful. So once me and Dr. Saporn had decided that it was a goer, I was then shown pictures of vaginas. A lot of pictures of vaginas. More than I'd ever seen in my life, or may have needed to. And it became clear then that I needed to decide what I expected from my vagina. Now, this fell into 3 categories. Dr. Saporn asked me if I was looking for sensation, appearance, or depth. Well, I felt a little bit on the spot. So I said, "Can I just have a think, please?" Actually, should we all just have a think? Right now. Yeah. What are you thinking? Should we just see a show of hands? Hands up for sensation. Oh, yes. Yeah. Appearance? Not that bothered. Depth? You can keep it. Well, I was pretty much with you. We've got sensation. We don't need anything else. Well, I'm absolutely with you. And that was it. It was pretty much a done deal. And all I had to do after that was lie back and think of England. Thank you very much.
Hello, Guilty Feminists. It's Deborah here. I'm currently on tour in North America. Dates coming up in the next week are Vancouver, Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Tickets at guiltyfeminist.com, but get them because they're going fast. We've had such an amazing tour so far. Thank you to everybody. We're so sorry that we didn't get to Boston, but the visa didn't come through in time and there's nothing we could do. We were so devastated. New York, 2 incredible shows. Philadelphia was just wonderful. Chicago blew us away. So get your tickets now. Before we leave, in the UK, on the 26th of January, we are having our first ever Joyful Resistance, which will be in London. And we're going to work out the problem of how to help the humanitarians who are being criminalized and how to raise awareness of that so more and more people become politicized and stand up to it. That's our mission. And if you are interested in coming along to that, could you please email joyfulresistance@guiltyfeminist.com and tell us that you're open to doing that on the 26th of January. We need people who can create interesting ideas. We need people who can administrate. We need people who can help with funding, all sorts of self-starter projects. So if you are available or can get to London on the 26th of January, let us know and we'll get back to you with details. On the 29th of January at the Clapham Grand, I am hosting a fundraiser
for the Australian Bushfire Fund. It's called The Power of Humanity, and the lineup is incredible. There's Alexis Dubas, there's Fiona O'Loughlin, there's Yuriko Katani, Juliet Burton, many more. So if you can come to that, all the proceeds are going to the Australian Bushfire Fund. I will be going out to Australia where we're doing Guilty Feminist shows in February. All the details are on guiltyfeminist.com, but we are coming to Melbourne, Sydney, the Gold Coast, Brisbane, and we're also coming to New Zealand, to Auckland, Christchurch and Wellington. Get tickets now for that. Also, my book, The Guilty Feminist, has now come out in North America. You can buy it in America, you can buy it in Canada, in all good bookshops and online. Get your copy now. If you are coming to one of the American shows, I will sign it at the end. Same deal in Australia. If you want your book signed at the end of the show, I will be there for you. Lots of love to all, and back to the podcast.
Please welcome to the stage the incredible Charlotte Keatley. Now, Charlotte, you are a feminist and creative anchor in Manchester.
Ooh, anchor sounds good.
Yeah.
Yes, I like anchor. Thank you.
You wrote one of the top 100 plays of the 20th century as elected by the National Theatre, called My Mother Said I Never Should.
That's right. And there were 4 on that list by women, so I think there's something slightly
there were
wrong.
4 out of the 100.
4 out of 100 significant plays of the 20th century were by living women. I think there were 2 dead women. So it just strikes me that something went slightly wrong in the choosing process, don't you think?
I cannot think who chose them.
No.
But also, it's also
strange.
what's been put on and platformed. So even if you have got women on the committee, if women haven't been facilitated to write plays, and the plays they have written haven't been produced because they've been seen as not important or not worthy, but somehow you managed to break through that and write this really seminal, amazing play that only has women in it.
That's right.
And you're doing that play in Sheffield.
That's right. The Crucible are just about to open a production.
That's what I heard. And why is that play different? How are you doing it differently this time?
I've had this play translated into 31 different languages or cultures. This time it's being done in British Sign Language by 4 actors who are themselves deaf. 2 of them also speak. But the play is foremost carried in British Sign Language, and those of us who are hearing will have some captions and some voiceover when we need it to hear dialogue. And some of it is going to be more visual than usual. And this is a real breakthrough because it's quite an experiment, this method. If it works, it means there's no reason why deaf actors, in this case women being the pioneers, but why deaf actors can't do all kinds of classic plays converted into this new mixture of languages. Theatre being always a mixture of visual and oral.
Absolutely. So we should probably get our other guest out.
Yes.
Please, welcome to the stage, the incredible, I say, never having met her, but I feel volunteering for this is incredible. She didn't strictly volunteer, but she didn't run. The incredible Jenny George! She did run. It's
Has she gone
she's
home?
left.
No! Hello. What a great gig. Straight off the bat, no bother. What's your trans name?
You know, I haven't thought of one yet.
Oh.
Okay, so we'll work it out together now. Name a favourite or a few favourite male singers.
Sam Fender.
Sam Fender,
George
great.
Ezra.
George.
I can't really be George.
You can't be George.
No, you can't be George
I can't be
George.
George.
Please
No,
be
you
George.
use your mother's
George.
maiden
Mother's
name.
maiden name. What's your mother's maiden name?
Harris.
George Harris. Bit like George
hang
Harrison.
on. Hang on.
Hold on.
George Harris. That's ringing a bell.
I think that would be brilliant, though. Charlotte, who's your favourite male singer?
Well, I was going to say George, just it flew into my head. George Formby, just to be a bit different.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and what's the second bit?
Your mother's maiden name?
My mother's name, George Burgess. Not very sexy, is it?
No.
George Burgess. No. George Burgess Shaw.
I mean, you don't have to stick to these names if you do transition.
Yeah.
You feel free to mix it up. It's just to get you going.
It's just
what was yours,
it's just to kick it off.
Elvis?
I'd like
Elvis
to be
Stofeld.
Max. I think Max is what I'd choose.
Max.
It's
Max.
Max everything. Max.
Yeah.
I think if I transition at any point, which is unlikely at the moment, but you know, we're fluid and life's long.
Not as long as you think, I just say. Got to act fast if you're going to transition. Don't leave it too long.
This is exactly what on Twitter they say.
Yeah. 2035, loads more people are going to be trans.
Oh, I do believe
16 years' time. I mean, the future is looking good.
No, I do believe that. There's no question, because I know people who've got teenagers who are non-binary, and, you know, it's just no big deal at all.
I bet people here have got mates who are trans.
See, when you were...
16 years ago, there was no mates mentioned if you're trans.
Yeah.
You just go into that corner and wait.
But they did have trans mates. They just didn't know, because there wasn't facility or people to come out. So people just suffered in silence until they died.
They did. It was all stealth.
Stealth.
Can you imagine me living in stealth? What a terrible idea. I mean, you should see the outfit I've got on tonight.
Oh, hold on, here it comes.
I think now might be the time.
I know, he missed his moment, didn't he? It was all talking heads, and then suddenly Kate starts to strip and he's popped out for a cup of tea.
Always the way.
So we're talking about what we wish we'd known. So Jenny, let's start with you. You are currently teaching what age of human being politics?
I teach history and politics to 16 to mostly 18, some 19, some 20-year-olds.
16 to 18-year-olds. You seem very young yourself, if you don't mind me saying. And I say that, again, as if it's a good thing, because our community prizes youth over everything. I'm aware that's a patriarchal structure. I take it back. Students don't see it as a good thing to be young.
Well, no. It's much harder to get respect from them. When I started, it was.
Oh, because you're young.
Yeah.
They kind of go, why are you teaching us, miss? Yeah. You're only our age.
Yeah, which when I started was quite close to true.
Oh. So how did you combat? How did you get over that?
I proved myself, I guess, by outwitting them.
Oh, yeah.
As much as possible.
Very good.
Yeah.
Outwitting them.
Well, I inherited a second-year group that had like a group of boys in, and I'd taken over from a teacher that had taught me, and he was brilliant, but I was never going to live up to him. It took me a long time to win them over.
Were you taking over from the man in the History Boys?
Similar.
Yeah, and so you then had to step into his large shoes.
Yeah.
And this is what I was thinking, this is part of Charlotte's thing about not fitting in. Here's an example. If I have to step into a man's shoes and they're going to be too big, so I'm going to be sort of flapping around. But that doesn't mean I'm less good or I'm more clumsy. It just means I'm in the wrong shoes. And I think that happens a lot in roles in corporations, because they're like, well, these shoes were fine for the last guy. What's your problem? If you can't take the heat, get out of the clown shoes. And I'm like, well, no, but hold on, that's not, the case. And I actually have big feet myself, so I feel I can say this. Is there anything you're teaching now in the curriculum as far as feminism in politics that you wish you'd known when you were their age?
I think the biggest thing, and it's by no means a perfect specification, there's lots of issues with it, and I think they duck some of the big questions, but what they do have is quite a range of feminists. So we do 5 key thinkers, and I add a few of my own into that as well.
Am I one of them?
I do give DF Dubs a shout out, yeah.
Yes! Didn't even know why I invited her to be on the show, but she looked into my eyes as if to say, you're safe. You can ask me this question. Who do you add? I'm being wry, of course, about myself. I'm being jocular. I'm being jocular. No, seriously, who do you add into your coterie?
So I add in Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term intersectionality. Because they have bell hooks, who is also an intersectional feminist, but I add in Kimberly Crenshaw. Betty Friedan is there, but she's there as a liberal, so I bring her into the feminism side of the course. as many women in history as I can get in. So Eleanor Roosevelt, who is not mentioned in the history of the US scheme of work. So I shoehorn her in as much as possible, and my mind's gone blank for anyone else.
No, that's a lot. That's enough. So these are some things that you wish you'd known. When you were that age, had anyone explained to you about intersectional feminism?
Definitely not. I just assumed there was one or two ways to be a feminist, and it didn't involve makeup or heels, and I would have liked to have known that I could be a feminist and also still wear what I wanted to wear.
And have feminine, what we see as traditionally feminine gender expression. There's nothing wrong with traditionally feminine gender expression. There's only something wrong with it if we project onto it the idea that to be feminine is less good than to be masculine. Where things are constrictive, or, if you don't want to be teetering around in high heels because you feel like you're going to fall over, then, there are times when the imposition of feminine gender expression can be unfeminist. But the act of it cannot be, I think. Have I gone too deeply in?
For me, yes, you have.
Am I now in a cul-de-sac that
I'm just stripping off on stage.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a wig.
I feel like I might need a three-point turn to get out of this, but I do feel that is correct. Charlotte, what do you wish you'd known?
I wish I'd known that I could have saved about 20 years of my life so far if you add up all the minutes in which, after a man has been very patronising or offensive or taken the credit for a piece of work that I've done, I don't need to stand there trying to think of a really nice, careful way of saying this to him without hurting his feelings.
That's a wonderful thing. And if you are currently very young, take that on board now, walk out of the room with it, carry it with you, don't waste the time, because it's true, we've wasted so much time doing that kind of thing. I think similarly, Me Too is saving me time, because before Me Too, in order to keep my job / place in the industry, if a man hit on me in a work context that made me feel very uncomfortable, I always used to think, especially if he had more power than me, I have to leave this man feeling attractive while getting out of the situation. Because if I make him feel unattractive or unwanted or undesirable or not like the sex monster he thinks he is, then I will have deflated his ego and I will not work for him, and he will make sure that I don't work for other people by saying nasty things about me or blackballing me in some way. And I'm not someone who's been hit on every other minute, but enough that it was a job. The amount of times where I've had to make that man feel super attractive and act as if, whether or not I felt he was attractive is irrelevant. I've had to make him feel attractive, and I've also had to make it out like I think he's joking, so that it's all fine. Be like, you. Oh, well, I mean, if I wasn't married and you didn't have 4 children, and everything would be so different. I mean, what? I mean, lol. I mean, jokes. I mean, is that the door? And you have to get up to like things like that, the nicety, emotional labour. You're right. But that's not if I'd known that then. If I'd known that then, nothing. I wouldn't have been able to do anything differently. But now, because of Me Too, I can kind of go, sorry, could you say that again? And then they don't. What do you wish you'd known?
Yeah, I think on a shallow level, I really wish I'd known how brilliant musical theatre was. Why did it take me 54 years to be in a musical? I just don't understand. I should have been in one since the day I was born. But something I was thinking about, I mean, with a lot of that, you might have picked up something in my kind of little stand-up bit, that all the people I had to go to were men. So during my whole transition, they were cisgendered white men who were dictating my trans journey. And it's only recently that I've really thought, oh my God, my whole trans journey by voice therapy, my psychiatrist said, oh, you're quite lucky because you've got small hands. And I was like, well, what if I didn't have small hands? Does that mean I can't transition? there were these kind of enforcements of what I had to be in order to transition. I think looking back, I really wish now I feel so much more empowered, and there are so many more trans people leading our journey, including myself. You know, I have a trans arts company in Manchester called Trans Creative. I have a trans arts festival, the only one in the country. You're welcome. And I've created a platform last year for 150 new and kind of emerging trans voices. And people say there aren't any trans performers. Well, there are. And I can find them and I can get them in the middle of like the Royal Exchange performing. So I feel like I'm really excited by that. But I look back and I think, why did I spend so much time like listening and putting my whole journey at their feet? You know, they weren't trans, they didn't even have like trans kids, or I didn't see any investment other than some kind of medical, because of their privilege, they ended up in that role with the letters after their name. I wish I'd known that. I wish I'd known.
Who's on your judging panel, Brené Brown says? We all need validation. When she says, when people say, oh, I don't give a fuck about what anyone thinks, well, you do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're a sociopath. Everybody has to care about how other people feel and get validation. We all need validation, but it's just where are you getting it from? And I think it's really easy, online especially, to just go, anyone who says anything, oh, I'm at the mercy of that. And she says, your judging committee should fit on a square inch of paper of people you really respect. And I've taken that on board of like who's on my panel. And I've different square inches of paper for different things, because the people I would care about judging me as a stand-up comic tend to be other stand-up comics. I don't really mind what my mum thinks of my stand-up comedy, to be honest. Because,
well, you should.
Well, I don't think I should let her get into my head again. But I do care what my mum thinks about my sort of behaviour and morality and, you know, my kindness and compassion. So, like, I have different square inches for different things, so to speak. But I care more about sensation than depth.
Yes!
But
I think it's clear we all do.
Yeah. But if you're in that situation, who's on your judging panel, your literal judging panel, to say whether you can transition in the way that you wish to, often are people who are all cis.
Yeah.
And that's very taxing. And sometimes that's just juxtaposition of legal and medical. So it's sort of finding ways around that to also plug into people whose opinion you can take on board. Charlotte, have you got something else that you'd like to tell us that you wish you'd known?
I could save another 20 years, actually. Also, again, broken up into a lot of small incidents where I'd started going out with somebody who was also a man, and I'd say, can I just say something? And he'd say, yes, say something, yeah, I'm listening, come on. And then just after you've started, he says, have you finished yet? Can I say something? And that's kind of the next 6 months to 2 years. I could have just saved that by just sort of stopping at that point and realising that there was something different in the way that we communicated and took up space and listened to each other. But there's a more serious thing there, which is, you know, they do these, if you record a conversation and you then ask, I hope this is changing, but on the whole, if you ask the men who talked most, if a woman has spoken for sort of, 7% of the time, she will appear to have spoken a lot and dominated the conversation. Because culturally, come on, let's change this, but culturally men are just allowed to take up that space for speaking and words.
But the more you shift it, it doesn't actually take that long between... structurally and as a society it will take longer, but we can all be trained to take up... Because I think that's true of other intersections of marginalisation and oppression as well. And I think we can train our immediate social circle by just being different, by just acting differently, and then they will start to expect, well, you always take up a lot of time in meetings and that's what we know of you, and that's how you individualise yourself out of gender or out of any other intersection of marginalisation.
It can happen the other way around, because actually the other thing I was going to say is about plays. Plays and other kinds of art are sometimes how we change things. So going back to that, only 4 women out of 100 in the last century wrote plays seem to be significant. Well, actually only from the 1970s did women start writing plays in any substantial number in this country and around the world, against 2,000 years of it being a male art form for various reasons. So we aren't visible and vocal in a lot of the classic plays and things. So you can start doing that, and then you can start changing patterns that way. Because another thing on my mind is, lots of times I've thought, God, that would be a really good musical or comedy show or whatever. Yeah.
Is there a part for
It's
cakes?
okay. We're catching up. We're here now, and we're going to make it happen. But I haven't sent that idea to the kind of director, producer person who'd do it. Why not? Because I think, well, I couldn't do that, or it wouldn't work, or something. Do you know what I mean? But interesting enough, it probably wouldn't have done, because that producer, director, important person in power is more likely to have been a man who recognises the ideas his kind of man presents him, rather than the kind of ideas I present. I hate to divide things by gender, but that is true. Now, the producer, director person is more likely to be someone like me, who for a long time thought, I can't do it, and now is beginning to think I can. Or the next generation down, who thinks, of course I can. That's a big change.
And it's also, we should say, as you said there, just to highlight, a certain sort of man. There's millions of working class men in this country who couldn't have walked into any of those theatres. There's millions of men of colour in this country who couldn't have walked into those theatres and said, I've got an idea for a musical comedy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They'd be like, have you?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
It is absolutely shifting now, and there is a demand for artists who have a different sort of voice now. I would say if you're a posh, white, established man, you will work forever and everything. But as a young man coming up, if you're a young, white, posh man, it is currently, that's not massively in demand. That's true. And I have spoken to some men who are very angry about it, and I sympathise with them. It must be awful to have had thousands of years of domination and be born 5 years too late.
Yes.
It must be annoying.
Maybe we should write a musical about them. Yes.
No, I can see that would be annoying if it's been pretty much only people like you for thousands of years and everyone else had to dip into this little pot of minority money, and our plays always got put on in sheds and, or we just had to put them on ourselves under bridges. And they did. That was true. That's how it was. That's how it was, until quite recently. And now it's like, oh, we need some female voices. Oh, we need some voices of colour. And that is really, really new. And it must be annoying to be a 21-year-old posh white man going, are you fucking serious that I missed this? This bus has been going in my direction for 10,000 years. And now you want to change direction? I can see that's annoying. I don't...
But who's deciding that change? It'll be that posh white person will be going, I think we need to mix it up.
I think it's a societal shift. I don't know. I mean, we should analyse. You might know, Jenny, because you understand history and politics. Is there anything you wish you'd known that you would like to tell us or tell young people?
The thing that I most tell the young people that I teach every day, particularly the girls who I tend to be a little bit biased towards in the class, is that women are collectively moving that road and moving that bus, and they're not alone. And I think when they step into the classroom and immediately they look round and there's more boys than girls, they feel alone. And just letting them know that there are podcasts like this and pointing them in those directions that I didn't know about when I was 16, 17, because it wasn't around at that time, signposting them to other women and to other collectives and other groups. I wish I'd known more about them, because they were there, I just didn't know about them. So I try and signpost as much as I can towards those, but also to tell the girls in particular in the groups that they need to speak more. And sometimes that's being really brutal and just picking on them more and pushing them more to speak more, because the more you speak, the easier it gets. And to give them that kind of confidence as much as I can. And to shout 3 words at them, which is, if I shout 3 words, they have to give me 3 positive things about themselves. Doing that as much as possible.
So you just shout 3 words and they have to shout back, clever, amazing, brave.
Yeah, they never go straight for those words, but yeah.
Love that. So you just have to shout 3 positive things about yourself.
Yeah.
Can we play that now?
Yeah, I was just thinking,
let's play
let's
it.
do
Let's
it
just
now.
point. Just as point. I mean, I'm pointing in a vague direction so that anyone can take it. I'm deliberately pointing vaguely because I don't want to. I know sometimes people in theatres are like, so I'm just going to point in direction and see if we can get people shouting out. No, it's not working. Can you point because you've got the magic?
Can we all do it?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
same time?
Confident.
What's the second one?
Strong.
Yes. What's your third one?
Clever.
Confident, strong, clever. Yes. See, it works when Jenny points. It doesn't work when I point because she's got the magic. Point to someone else. Good hair. As Fleabag tells us, hair is everything, Anthony. Hair is everything. This is great. Have you got 3 words, Charlotte?
Willful. Brave. Pioneering.
Nice. What have you got, Kate?
Tall. Musical. Happy.
Oh! Makes me feel like crying. What are your 3 words, Jenny?
Brave. Determined and feisty, because I'm trying to reclaim it as not...
Yes. And can you give us a potted... Because I want to know what you're teaching in A-level feminism. Is there any sort of highlights that you could teach us? Because I bet you anything you will educate every single person in this room, because we haven't done A-level feminism. Unless you have, in which case I apologise.
So we start with Simone de Beauvoir, and we look at how she pushed for initially education as the thing that was going to drive women forward. And then we move towards Charlotte Perkins Gilman, who used literature as a vehicle to explain the female experience. Then we go to Sheila Robotham, who is fantastic in that she identified that men are willing to look at things around the world and say, yes, there is sexism, but they're not willing to recognise that sexism happens to the person that sits next to them or the person in their house. They can recognise it in faraway places, and they can recognise it in other schools and other families, but they can't recognise it in front of them. And she was also a socialist feminist, so they try and get a range. Then they go to Kate Millett, who is a radical feminist and starts to really kind of push the boundaries of what it is to be female, whether women are made or whether they are born. And she looked at sexual politics and said that everything is political, the personal is political, and the relationships, the sexual relationships that women have either with men or with other women are inherently political, and we can't escape from that. And then the last person is Bell Hooks, who looked back at the kind of third, second and first wave of feminists and said they are not inclusive, they are not supportive enough, they are too prescriptive, and that we as feminists have been too prescriptive in how we define feminism, and we need to move away from that prescriptive style feminism and embrace as many types of feminism as there possibly can be, and embrace what it is to be female, to make empowered decisions as feminists. That's the 5 thinkers.
I think that should be a musical. Really?
Yeah. It might be time now to get out of the audience Laura Martin, because Laura Martin has something to tell us. Please welcome to the stage Laura Martin! So, Laura Martin, welcome to the stage. Please tell us about your project, what it is and what we can do to help.
Okay, so, hi, my name's Laura. Thank you for having me here. So, I am a girl empowerment volunteer for a local Manchester charity called Made with Hope. The charity was founded by a local girl called Eleanor. She has done a lot for girls and for people in Tanzania. So we work with a partner school in Tanzania. I've actually just come back. I was there for 3 weeks. It was my first visit there. And basically, I ran a girl focus group with kind of the most I got in my group was 17 girls. And they were all girls who have started their period. They're all in local government-run schools in Tanzania. They have really, really little facilities. They've never even seen pads before, period pads. They've never had any money to be able to actually buy themselves any form of menstrual hygiene management. They've never had any education on menstrual hygiene management, which to me was completely, just unreal. Like, we can go to the toilet, we can go in, we can put a pound in a little machine if we really want to, and we can get a tampon, or we can get a pad. These guys have never even seen one before. So basically, the project that I'm working on is, we are in the final stages of our project. We're actually fundraising at the moment to find enough money to be able to run a workshop with all these girls in multiple towns in Tanzania. We have 4 schools that we're working with at the moment. It's a very small charity. It's growing really quickly, and we really, really, really hope that we can reach more girls in the future. But we are working on providing girls education, enough education so that they at least know what a period is. These girls don't understand what a period is. I was told on one of our workshops that a period is a girl having a lot of water from their downstairs. That's what I was told by one of these girls. They have absolutely no idea. We want to educate them.
So how can we help?
You can visit Made with Hope. Please, please, please visit their Instagram, their Facebook, their Twitter, their website in particular. Their website has some really, really interesting stuff. Please visit there. Please donate. Please come and talk to us as well. If you want to volunteer, then you are more than welcome to come and join our volunteer group. If you want to donate some money, if you know people in businesses that want to donate money to girls that are in need, please come and visit us. Please
Great.
come and speak to us.
So Made with Hope, find them on the socials, get involved, donate, connect, volunteer. If you've got no other resources, you could amplify and give them a retweet. Thank you so much, Laura Martin.
Thank you.
So before we finish, what was that?
Hi, sorry, can I just ask, do you know about Days for Girls? We do know about Days for Girls. So could you tell everyone about Days for Girls as well?
We can't, because we've only got 6 minutes left. So, but we will look it up online.
Days for Girls while
While you're looking up Made with Hope, Days for Girls.
Sorry.
That's okay. No. It's only because we've got to get out of the theatre. Otherwise, I would go on all night, and I many times have. Is there anything anyone here wants to leave on the stage that they haven't said, that they haven't told us about?
I was actually on strike today. The National Education Union, the sixth form teachers, 25 sixth form colleges have had some of their staff on strike today because of massive funding cuts to the sector, and it's just not been reported. So if you could just tell people that we were on strike, that would be lovely.
Great. Charlotte?
This production by 4 women actors who are also deaf, using British Sign Language of My Mother Said I Never Should. It opens at Sheffield till the 23rd of November, but it's going to be at the Lowry it's either February or March, 2 nights. So please, especially if you know anyone who's deaf, any generation, because this covers 4 generations, and deaf people have been blocked out of so many parts of our culture over the years, so it partly tells that story for people who haven't seen it on stage. And come yourself.
It's
Please.
a brilliant play, and I would be very, very interested to see it in a different language. And it is genuinely a brilliant play. If you haven't seen it, you must see it, because it is genuinely, genuinely wonderful. And it's the most feminist play you could possibly imagine. Kate, anything to tell us?
Apart from the musical.
Are you in a musical? You've not mentioned it. The one thing that I didn't say, which is that things I wish I'd known, this is the biggest thing I wish I'd known when I was young. People believe what you tell them. You tell the story of you, and that's what they believe. Very few people are correcting your story of you. So if you come in going, oh, is this the right room? I'm not sure. I just had a thought, don't know if it was worth mentioning. The story you're telling is, I don't really trust myself. And very few people in life are going to go, you don't trust yourself, but I think you should, and I'm going to. They don't. Occasionally someone does. That person is called a mentor. That's what a mentor is. It's someone who says, I believe in you more than you believe in you. You will get maybe 2 mentors in a lifetime, if you're lucky. Everyone else believes what you tell them. So tell them the story, I trust me. And if I don't know something, I'm going to go, I don't know about this. I trust me and I trust you. I'm going to put my hand up and say, I don't know it. You don't have to blag. But tell the story, I trust myself. And people will trust you with more responsibility, opportunity, money, influence, whatever, all of these things that...
Musicals,
all of these
Literally,
things
that's
that
the case in
currently
point.
make our capitalist, terrible world go round. But some of those things are as simple as who's invited into the room. So you need to walk into that room as if you're invited. Most of us are walking into rooms we're invited into as if we're not invited. We've got to cut that shit out.
Can I suggest?
Charlotte, do you have a topper?
I just think we need to add to that the 3-word trick. So before you go in the room, you say to yourself, what are my 3 words? That's a great thing. I'm going to remember that and pass it on to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I haven't done my 3 words. I did sort of 3 spontaneous ones, but I don't know, maybe they were my true ones then because they're spontaneous. But if I think about it, my 3 words are, oh God, it's embarrassing to have to say nice things about yourself.
come on.
It shouldn't be, that's the point. You should
I know,
be able to just do
I
it.
just said to believe your own story. I'm a terrible person.
Would it help if I pointed at you?
Yeah, point at me. No, it's got to
Okay.
be. It's got to be
You ready?
Jenny. Hold
Oh,
on.
yeah. Can
Jenny's
you
got the
just
magic
point?
finger. Go. Powerful,
Yes.
compassionate, active.
Yeah.
Everybody has 2 pieces of homework tonight. Before you go to bed, you were going to write down your 3 words, and you were going to write down your transitional name. You have been listening to the Guilty Thank you, Manchester. That's our show. You've been amazing. Good night.
Interval.
You've got the interval to think up your trans name. So,
Yeah.
Jenny and Laura, if you could work out your trans name in the interval, and Charlotte, that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah. We're all transitioning over the interval. It's going to be beautiful.
That's not what...
It's the future.
That's not what the official policy of the Guilty Feminist is. Not that you have to transition in the interval.
I'm always trying, always
I know you are.
pushing.
Yes, it's well done. Well done, Kate. Well done.
Transition!
No, you're...
Now! Transition now!
This is...
You're going to love it!
Oh, my God.
I've never
This
done
is-
that before. It
this-
felt really good.
No.
Okay.
This is...
Felt really good.
This is what the scared people on Twitter fear you do, Kate.